Hello everyone, and Trisha, it's me Jenny, and this is another not naked video response to Trisha Hershberger's Naked Truth, where we get out of the shower and don't wear makeup and talk about a subject of her choosing as candidly as we can. And my phone just went off. This week's subject was death, which is something that I'm not going to go into too much detail, but recently someone asked for advice on how to mourn. They'd lost someone close to them and knew that I went through a mourning experience when I was 16, and wanted to know what to do. And it was a very weird question to be asked, is how do I deal with this? And how did you deal with this when you were 16? And I really didn't have an answer. And I've thought about it a lot since I got asked this question, and the thing that kind of comes to mind is there is no answers. Everyone mourns in their own time and in their own way, and each death is different. The experience I had when I was 16, the person who died was 17, it was sudden, it was unexpected, and the deaths that I experienced before or after weren't as close to me, and weren't nearly as unexpected. I had a lot of preparation time for those deaths that were coming up, while with this one it was very sudden. And as I said, each mourning is different. There's apparently like a 3-month mourning period, which I think is a bunch of... It doesn't make any sense to me. For me, it took me a long time to mourn this death that I experienced when I was 16, a long time. And in many ways I'm still mourning this person, even though that was, 6 years ago. And it's just one of those things that everyone mourns individually, every death is individual, and the only advice I can be is to find your way to mourn. The thing with me is whether or not it's a cultural thing or a family thing or just me thing, I genuinely hate crying. I hate crying in public. There will never ever be a YouTube video of me ever crying because I will just not upload that. So when I was going through this mourning period, and obviously I was 16, I was still living at home, my sister's wall, it's about that thick next to my wall, so there wasn't really any space or time to just have that cathartic crying release moment. I tried, walking out into the countryside to try and find some peace and quiet, and there would always be a dog walker, or I'd always be scared there'd be a dog walker, or I would try and hide in the corner of my bedroom and keep it all stifled in, and someone would come and ask if I was okay, and I'd have to suck it all back in, or, there was no safe place to go where I could completely let go. And it was months and months after this original incident that I think my parents were out on a weekend trip and my sisters were away, and I shut the doors and I locked the doors and I went round and I shut all the windows, and suddenly I just had this moment where everything hit at once and I could just have that full-blown release. And I think I cried for something like an hour, just full-on sobbing, childlike gasping, the full 100% tears, face puffy, everything. And for me that's what I needed. And again, different deaths are different situations. Each death that I've experienced has been very different and has had a different pace and a different mourning period, and has affected me in a very different way, similarly to how the people who I've lost affected me in life. The advice that I gave to my colleague who just lost her friend was music. Like when you've had a breakup with someone, but to a much higher extreme. When I lost this person, or when I lose people, every song I hear on the radio reminds me of that person. And that can have a very positive thing because music is very cathartic, but you also have a very negative thing if you really love a song and you have positive associations with that song, and then you listen to it during this period and then that song has a stigmatizing sort of thing happening, because you then only associate it with that negative time. And what really helped me was I found an album which really spoke to me at the time, but I didn't have any other positive or negative associations with it, and completely poured my soul into that album, listening to it again and again and again, and really melding that album with my experience at the time and putting those two together, so that yes, when I listen to that album all I think about is that negative time, but it means that no other songs really remind me of that time in a similar way. It means that whole other albums aren't ruined for me because it reminds me of that time. Only that one album, only that other couple of songs remind me of that time in that very visceral way. And there we go. I don't know whether or not this made any sense or was particularly useful for anyone, but hopefully it might help one or two of you out there. Everyone mourns differently, every death is different, every person is different. There is no right or wrong way to mourn, there is no time limit on mourning. It's just one of those facts of life. There we go. Hope this helps someone. Bye guys.